What is up? It is Brody here with another mixing session. The artist Oriole, longtime collaborator of mine. I produce, mix, and master all their music. We just released a new EP, Stone and Iron. I wanted to, while the iron is hot, no pun intended, go through one of the mixes on this and kind of talk about all the vocal mixing choices that we did within this world. This song is like a Deftones, Loathe, Holy Fawn, Superheaven, like kind of a mix of some metalcore tendencies, but leaning more on like the rock, heavy shoegaze, like grungy kind of like tones within it all. Very cool. And with that being said, we wanted to try to find almost like a contradiction of sorts, like with the mix. We wanted something that is clean and processed and like radio ready rock music, while also being raw and not like fully the pop metalcore production that you'd see. Like we wanted to make this song like compete with that stuff, but still have its own like organicness, its own rawness, its own like grit, if you will. And I think we accomplished it. I want to run through this and show like the choices we made to kind of fit both of those worlds. I'll link below. I already have a YouTube video talking about the production side of this. So today I'll be talking mostly about the vocals here. I'll link it if you want to go through and get the whole picture. A couple notes before we get into it. One, if you would like to access this Logic session and dive through, link below also for my Patreon. I've been sharing all my Logic sessions so you can thumb through with your own time, kind of reverse engineer and get a more in-depth look at these sessions. Point two, if you are interested in doing a session like this, whether it be for production, mixing, mastering, writing, one-on-one lessons, my commissions are open. You can find me, my email, my Instagram, all that in the description as well. Would love to work with you guys. I've met so many cool artists through this channel, and if you think that could be you, let me know. But yeah, enough shameless self-plugging. Let's get into it. Let's listen through. I'll play a little bit of a chorus and a breakdown section for you guys to get an idea of what this all sounds like. Sounds like this.
Used to fantasize your world until I realized you never really mattered at all. Count your coin while my right hand flows. Then realize you never really tell me what you're stand for. With your knees in the mud, eyes frantic, turning over super back you can cut. You're never again. Or stand with the tracks like us. Settle stupid livelihoods just to prop yourself up. No laughing with the violence, but we'll stay frothing at the mouth. Iron within, forever iron without.
I love that song. It sounds so crazy, so aggressive, so much energy behind it. I'm really excited to get into these scream vocals and all the tricks we do to make them sound as brutal as possible. I think it might be a little bit surprising the way that they're processed and our approach towards screaming vocals. But first off, let's get into it. Let's kind of go through mainly what's happening here. So we have, the session is giant, so much going on. I have the whole mix of the song within this instrumental and vocals. But what I'm doing, if we're going super top down, I have a bus that is all of the instrumental. I've routed everything to a beat bus. And then a bus of entirely the vocals. And I like to do a lot of what's called top-down mixing, where you're kind of doing broad strokes mostly, and then as you go in, kind of make little tweaks to change anything that you notice on a more detailed level. And this is like as broad as you can go. I think that a way that I get my vocals to sit really nicely is to have a specific bus for both of these. That way if I'm like, oh, the vocals just need to be louder, I can turn that up. I can do little things like this as well, where on the entire instrumental bus, I have Soothe 2 set to sidechain to the vocals. If you look at the balance here, it's mostly affecting the mids too. That way, things like the heavy guitars on the side aren't really affected, but it gives us just a little more extra room to have the mix be really loud and the vocals stand out while not being too on top of everything. I turn it off. Very subtle, but it's like the repeating of those subtle choices like that that make things sit really nicely in the mix. Because it's kind of in between that metalcore and shoegaze production, I wanted to find a middle ground of like a shoegaze mix where the guitars are super loud on top of the vocals, but then a metalcore mix where the vocals are very prominent. Like, it's fun juggling those, and I think that's a part of how we kept things tight and clean and also a little unruly at the same time. So I'll go through the main lead vocal here.
Until I realized it never really mattered at all.
Super aggressive, super cool, super like loud. Like the whole room was shaking when we recorded this. I'll go through signal chain here. Obviously very distorted, darker vocal. Intentionally we did that. We started off, I'll open up UAD console here. I recorded this. I kind of go back and forth between if I like printing my effects or recording raw and then adding effects afterwards, but I've been really enjoying, especially with the idea of this mix of keeping things a little more natural and raw and organic. I've been enjoying the idea of like setting up my signal chain, recording into it, it's printed and you can't change it on the vocal. We've been using the UAD console for this specifically. I'll record them I'll bring up the whole signal chain here, go all the way to the start. Mic we're using is a Vanguard V13 tube mic. Sounds really nice. It just really works on an aggressive vocal like that. When it starts to break up, it's very pleasing. Aggressive, but not like harsh. We're running that into a Neve 1073 within console. I'm running not on the screams, but on anything that's pitched, like a pitched yell, the singing vocals. I'm printing very subtle auto-tune, just on the way in. I like doing this because I find that singing through auto-tune, like when you can hear your voice tuned while you're recording, it's a lot easier to find the notes. And like I found that, depends per artist, but with Oriole specifically, letting them hear themselves with a slight auto-tune has made them give a lot better vocal takes. The majority of this song, I'm not doing any more vocal tuning, just relying on this subtle auto-tune, not even to tune their vocals, but to guide them to sing on pitch, which I think is really nice. Another way to keep things a little more on the raw side. Again, it sounds contradictory using auto-tune to give a raw performance, but I think it's just enough of a subtle like subconscious thing to steer you into singing in pitch. From there, 2 compressors that we're going through. We're doing a TubeTech CL1B and an LA2A. I think the CL1B is a little bit of an oddball for this style of music. I know a lot of times when I'm in pop music and rap music and more like transparent, clean kind of vocal sounding genres, I'm using this compressor a lot because it excels in that. But between the tube mic that we're using and then the 1073, and then some later on in the mix, some of the saturation we're doing, I wanted a compressor that I could slam super hard and have it sound kind of organic. So for me, the CL1B worked perfectly here. I'm running that into the Teletronics, the LA2A, you can see it going right now because I'm talking through this chain for this video. But I was kind of reaching for a vocal like this, kind of between like 5 to 10 dB of gain reduction on each. Something that's like definitely compressed, but never hitting like an over compressed amount. CL1B is kind of hitting a little bit faster, getting some more of the peaks and transients, and then the LA2A is kind of hitting mostly tone shaping. It's slower, it's less grabby, but I don't know, it really gets a nice sound. So yeah, we're doing that into the DAW, and then there's very, very little happening after. Like, that's such a solid vocal chain. Everything else we're doing is just kind of general tone shaping and like stylistic things. From there, here's my main vocals here. We got EQ. I'll go ahead and turn this all off. EQ.
Used to fantasize your war.
Just cutting out some low mids, some proximity effects. One more compressor. If you follow my channel, you probably know how much I love the distressor, but when I want the effect of compression and saturation and I don't want to compress it that much more, I love using distressor at a 2-to-1 ratio. So like a low amount of compression compared to like the 10-to-1 on the LA2A. I think I was running 6-to-1 on the Tube Tech. But 2-to-1, that way it's mostly tone shaping. I'm running it on this distortion 3 setting and it's kind of fast. And it just, I'll show you, it just like takes the vocal, brings it up front a little bit more, makes it a little more aggressive, a little more tonally cool.
Fantasize your war until I realize it never really mattered at all.
Yeah, really subtle, but I think those little subtleties really add up to make a good mix. It just brings the vocal a little bit more forward, and I really like it. From there, we got de-esser, just catching any stray S sounds. I use, for a lot of male vocals, I'll use the Waves de-esser with the Pensado vocal wideband setting. You can dial in a de-esser easily, but this just, for me, it works. It's fast. I love it. It cuts out exactly what I want. From there, we got the U80 Pultec, the EQP1A. I love this EQ. It's such a colorful EQ. It really brings out a lot. I'm using it to both brighten and attenuate. It's a trick. I'll show you before and after. With.
Used to fantasize your war.
Just slightly brighter, slightly tighter low end. And that's because this EQ is really interesting in that there's a boost knob and an attenuate knob, which attenuate would be turning down. So these two knobs are working opposite of each other. And you can do this thing with it that's really cool of if you boost and then attenuate, if you look, I'm kind of doing similar levels on both of these. It will do some like frequency exciting. Like you add harmonic content within the EQ's color by boosting. And then when you attenuate, now if they're both at 10, it's going to sound crazy, but if they're both at 10, the EQ curve is about the same, but it's introduced a lot of harmonics. So that's a trick that a lot of people like to do if you want to retain like the feeling of the low end of your vocal, but remove some low end. And then I'm doing that on the high end as well, just to give a slight boost, make it brighter, but not make it harsh. Really secret sauce there. Then brightening it a little bit further with the Aphex Vintage Exciter. It just adds some more high end up top and kind of changes the EQ curve of the high end a little bit. I find sometimes if a vocal is needing to sit a little more on top of the instrumental, that helps a lot. And yeah, that is our main vocal. So that's the bus for our main vocal. And then here is the bus for all of our vocals. So this is all processing that as well. I'm using Radiator that I'm kind of really cranking it. It's a saturating, like a tube saturator kind of plug-in from Sound Toys. I just love how it sounds. Here's without it. Already really distorted. But then with it. It just adds this nice like low mid to mid like body. It just makes it sound really upfront and nice and a lot of character. It makes it, sometimes when you're adding like a lot of compression and distortion and saturation, you can get this like harsh high end kind of sound. And I think I'm trying to retain that low mids. From there we have, this is kind of gluing the main vocals and all the background vocals, the SSL compressor.
Until I realized it never really mattered at all.
I love the SSL comp. It's such a staple compressor for any bussing. I think it just like makes it glue. It takes it from a lot of vocal layers to like one vocal part. And then I'm kind of hitting it hard, like about 8 dB of compression on the peaks. And I think what that does too is it does some like automatic ducking for me. When the main vocal comes in, which is louder than the background vocals, it will kind of carve out space and makes the background vocals sit how I would like it to. It's like automatic side chaining in a way. But yeah, that is my vocal chain for the main vocal. For the Background vocals, very similar chain, aside from some things I'm adding like some delays on, you see primal tap delay on some of the background, just to add some more space. I'm adding, what's different here? Some micro shift. I'll exaggerate it. Just some doubling and widening, make it sound like more people behind, and just to give it some more stereo width. That way it is not competing with the lead vocal too much. So that's all the plugin processing that's happening. We have 2 buses here, very simple. Galaxy Tape Echo from UAD, giving some delay reverb. It's such a cool sound. I have the reverb panned hard right, the delay panned hard left. And it's really detailed without being too much. I don't know, it adds a lot of character, a lot of warmth. Then Valhalla Vintage Verb as like a big room reverb. A little brighter. And that's what's putting this in a space here. Pretty simple. I'm just doing some slight reverb on the background vocals, a little bit of delay. Nothing groundbreaking, but the chain just like accomplishes what it needs to. It sounds pretty distorted, a little more like insane and clipped and gross than you would expect on a clean mix, but then I'm doing things with like the editing to keep it tight as well. So the processing, the amount of compression, the like EQ curve, all that I'm doing is making it sound very like mix ready, very competitive, very upfront, but then I'm going and adding a ton of distortion and simple layers and things to keep it a little more raw. Like we have our main vocal, and then in the background, nothing too crazy. We have a double and then some harmonies left and right. And I'm intentionally not vocal lining, doing any like aligning with these. I'm letting the tightness of Oriole's takes just define this. Like they're already stacked pretty well, and I want to give it kind of like a loose, messy editing instead of doing like a super tight, like Ariana Grande, Bad Omens, like Bring Me the Horizon style, like perfect on the grid edit. Like I want us to have a little bit of extra room. Let's hear it back now. With all that you can hear kind of how off some of the background vocals are, but I think it really adds to it. I think it makes it more raw, makes it more impactful. Another thing too, I think it's cool hearing it in the mix with how aggressive the song is. The amount of vocal distortion isn't as prevalent. When you listen to the stems, you're like, man, that's really clipped. That's really distorted. But then you hear it in the mix and it, in context, fits, I think. I think it sounds great. From there, I want to talk about the screams. And specifically, I mentioned at the beginning of the video how I wanted to talk about the scream processing because of how aggressive it sounds. It's the same exact processing as the singing vocals. I know a lot of times people will do like ton of extra compression and distortion layers and like saturation tricks to make their screams sound as brutal as they can. And I do that sometimes, depending on the song, it calls for it. But with this specifically, the breaking up of their voice is just them screaming really loud and having good technique. We both are of the like consensus that screamed vocals need to be screamed. Like, of course, you don't want to like destroy your voice, but I think sometimes when you're like too mindful of technique and whisper screaming and all of that, like you can kind of lose some of the emotion, the aggression of screaming. Again, contradiction. You don't destroy your voice, but remember that you're screaming because you're showing an emotion really strongly. And I think that's why these screams sound so good. Again, nothing different. This is the same exact vocal chain as everything else, and they just sound so aggressive. With your knees in the mud, eyes frantic, turning over, super back, you can cut. Could never again, or stand with the tracks like us. Settle stupid livelihoods, just to prop yourself up. No longer with the violence. So brutal. Tell me what you stand for! With your knees in the mud, eyes frantic, turning over, super back, you can cut. Could never again. Like that is so, that could never hack it. I love how that sounds.
Could never hack it!
Like you're kind of losing your mind. You're so upset. You're so angry that you're like crashing out just about. And I think that's what makes a scream take sound that good. Some metalcore, which I think, again, this kind of leads us to the more raw recording. Some metalcore, I think the screams are too polished, too given the pop treatment that like the person doesn't sound mad anymore. And I think that's important. That's something we strive for here. Then the background layers get really ridiculous too.
Could never hack it! Or stay with the dregs like us!
Again, they sound kind of crazy. It's like, I don't know. I think part of a good scream is just like letting go and like accepting it's going to be wild, because in the mix it sounds so good. Only thing I'm doing with these is on some of the ad libs I'm doing some micro shift to widen it. And yeah, that low high layer classic. Yeah, that is it. I think that I covered everything I wanted to. We managed to, let me know in the comments if you agree, but I think we managed to make a song that like fits within modern metalcore, fits within that world, but with like a heavy shoegaze, like hard rock, like just rawness, like an authenticness to it as well. I don't know. It's all about knowing the techniques and more importantly, when to use them. Like I decided to do the compression and EQ that I would for a super modern mix, but then when it came time to do like vocal tuning and vocal time aligning and like layering, stacking, all of that, and the amount of saturation, I decided to throw that out the window and try something that I felt served this song more and not do that. It's like, again, the cliche saying of like, you learn the rules so you know when to break them. I think that is always true and very, very much what we went for here. But yeah, again, if you made it through this video, thank you so much. If you want to look through this session more, check my Patreon. If you want to make a session like this with me, email me or DM me. All of that will be in the description below. Thank you guys so much. I really hope you like this mix. I hope you like this video. I hope it is insightful and it helps you in your mixing journey. And with that all being said, peace out.